problem, crisis counseling, and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER.
Tune in to KBN every day at 2 o'clock. Kyle Bruston Norton, 94.5 ESPN is WKTI and WKTI HD in Milwaukee.
A locally owned Good Karma brand station.
I'm fired up to talk about some golf today. We're riding a little bit of heater.
The bag is packed with the sticks. The drinks are cold. And the scorecards ready to go. Time to hit the links. It's time to go on the tee. Sponsored by Majestic Oaks at Lake Lawn Resort and Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all.
The long journey is over. McElroy has his masterpiece.
I go back to watching this tournament, the weekend with my father when I was 7 and 8 years old. Watching Tiger Woods do what he did in 1997. That was my inspiration to try to become what I am today. And to think that I'm up here wearing one of those green jackets is honestly, it's a dream come true. Like my dreams have been made today. The one thing I would say to my daughter Poppy, never give up on your dreams. Never ever give up on your dreams.
Alongside PGA Tour Live Stephen Watson, here's Gabe Neitzel.
Another exciting week in golf. It is on the tee. Gabe Neitzel, PGA Tour Live's Stephen Watson, who, oh man, just looking sharp in the PGA Tour Live merch this week, too. Just coming in hot.
It's casual wear.
Casual wear.
I'm fired up to talk about some golf today. We're riding a little bit of heater in the professional game right now.
Like, it is bad. When you take a step back, Stephen, and look at the winners that we've gotten, and not just recently, we'll dive into JT here winning a playoff at RBC Heritage, but obviously Rory before that. And, I mean, Scotty hasn't even won this year, but you take a look at some of the winners and some of the finishes that we've had, whether it was at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, Rory winning, I mean, 2 times even before the Masters, Ludwig Aubert getting a win in there. Like, this has been a pretty good PGA Tour.
Feel-good stories of Minwoo Lee getting his first win in Houston, holding off Scotty. Victor Hovland fighting his demons out loud
winning with
golf
what,
fans.
C game? B game? I'm not even sure what game he thinks he has right now.
He held off JT in that one. I mean,
at least during tournament.
We've talked about it. It feels like weekly, but this is what the game needs. They need their stars to show up, and they need their stars to play, and they need their stars to perform. And we've seen that. And as golf fans, we're better off for it. I mean, the most boring win was maybe Russell Henley winning at Bay Hill, and even that was a great finish.
Oh, no, but that wasn't. The dude chipped in on the 16th hole on Sunday to sprint past Colin Morikawa, which gave us the can Colin Morikawa actually close one of these things out storyline. Right? So it makes me look back to even last year, because I know you're fired up about this, and Scotty was so dominant, and we thought, oh, yeah, Scotty, if we have this dominant player, that can capture people. But, and I hear this all the time from anybody who knows good golf is boring golf.
And he needed a playoff hole.
But also sometimes it's not, right? And I think that's what we've had a lot of, like, Scotty was dominant to the point where he's a little boring with his personality, admittedly. Like when he was on, on the Netflix show Full Swing, like the most exciting thing he does is goes and gets coffee with his wife.
Yeah.
Like that's him being excited.
The most exciting part about that episode was finding out what he drinks and to learn that he doesn't even like drink coffee.
Yeah, he just like goes there because his wife likes going there.
Of course you don't drink coffee.
And I think that is
Who are you?
At least during tournament weeks. Yeah, a little bit. But but he plays such good golf and it's boring golf. But like you mentioned Minwoo, like, even if anybody didn't know who Minwoo Lee was, him like kind of fighting it a little bit and having a little bit of iffy moments, like when he airmails the green on 18. All right, can he get this up and down? That's exciting.
Yeah.
Rory going up and down, and obviously the storyline of him winning last week, that's exciting. JT kind of had to hang on. He goes out, shoots a course record on Thursday, and he was, don't get me wrong, like he didn't leak oil the way Rory leaked oil. He was solid, but it's not like he followed up the 61 with a 64 or 65. He was solid the rest of the week, and that was enough still to close it out, but it was curious because somebody chased him down, and he needed a playoff hole, and he needed to survive somebody missing an 8-foot putt on 18 to get to the play.
I think the most encouraging thing is not only the names who are winning, but how they're going about winning. Like, I've been on the edge of my seat as a golf fan. I mean, I was doing the Brewers game yesterday, texting you and a couple of guys, and you're like, you have to be watching this right now. I was like, I am, don't tell my bosses. But sitting on the edge of my seat,
into a live microphone.
Just sitting on the edge of my seat watching these things unfold. And I think that is what
But
the only way that this game is humanized to us on Sundays is when you watch guys struggle.
Yeah.
And we saw that with Rory missing the putt on the 72nd hole at Augusta. We saw that with JT trying to lose it, at RBC Heritage, and even Min Woo on 18 blowing that drive. Like that for us is relatable because you're like, oh wow, okay, they're not robots. They can go out there and the pressure can get the best of them just like it might with us. Now our stakes are a little bit lower than theirs. Ours might be a $10 putt versus a couple $100,000, but it still is, I think, for us relatable as just amateur golfers to watch the guys shake a little bit over some of those swings.
Or in Ludwig's case, just blow 500K by making a triple on 18 at Augusta.
Yeah, something tells me he'll make that up relatively quickly.
Yeah, like I'm not worried about Ludwig, but you see that as well as he played, and he makes a triple at Augusta. How much it cost him? But I'm excited for JT to finally get over that finish line because I think you can start questioning yourself when you've gotten so close and you can't finish it off. Even if you do play solid the way he did yesterday. Right, he was solid. He didn't have his best stuff, but still two birdies, no bogeys on the front side, and he was playing relatively solid golf. But somebody still had to chase him down. Okay, now I got to go through this because that's what I think you're seeing with Colin Morikawa right now.
Yeah,
like you start questioning yourself a little bit in those moments, even though you are in both their cases, two-time major champion. You're one of the faces of golf, but you still have to go through these moments when you haven't won in literally over 1,000 days for JT.
We've seen the dog in JT, particularly in team play, of course, with the Ryder Cup, even here in Wisconsin at Whistling Straits. I mean, the way that he carried Spieth as a twosome in that event was really special. But the knock on JT is that dog doesn't come out in individual play on many Sundays. Even when he won his PGA in 22, it was thanks to Mito melting down.
Yeah.
And, it was good to see him make the putt when it counted. I mean, a 21-foot walk-off putt on a golf hole.
That's not like you're thinking. And I was actually listening to it as I was driving back home. I was listening to the playoff on Sirius XM radio, on PGA Tour Live Radio, and
does or doesn't
they're going, you've got 35 feet for one guy, 21 feet. You're expecting both these guys to two-putt.
They're heading back to 17.
Yeah, and we're going back and we're playing another playoff.
Using your language.
21 feet.
Nice.
Again, for those who don't know,
I just learned it this
and
year.
maybe this is just good for everybody's edification, 8 feet is the 50-50 range for pros on the PGA Tour. 8 feet. So again, you start extrapolating that out. 21 feet, you're making not a lot of those over the course of 18 holes.
This is a PSA also.
But
why everybody should putt everything out because of that exact stat you just listed off. 8 feet at 50% for the best players in the world. Don't go out there and scoop that 3-footer. Okay? Just remember.
Yeah, maybe for pace of play.
It's a problem.
Depending upon what's on the line, right? If it's a 3-foot birdie putt, putt it out. If it's a double, go ahead and scrape it. Let's move on.
But it was a no-doubter from JT.
Oh, he was the heart of the heart. Like, it was perfect pace, perfectly in the center of the cup. It's not like it lipped in. It was, and to have the worm cam, like they did for it, like that was.
Look at you, worm cam. I love that.
I mean, to have that view right down there of that putt rolling in. Again, I know it's not possible all the time at PGA Tour events to have that view, but to kind of see that and see how much it does or doesn't break. But to have that angle of the putt going in, I thought was kind of cool.
I'm so proud. Usually pretty proud. Using the worm cam tech.
I wasn't even worried about JT.
Love it.
Just using your language.
Nice. Hey, I just learned it this year. Just working in golf TV for the first time. This director gets in here and goes, worm cam coming. And I was like, what? And then all of a sudden the putt comes and I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And I love that.
Playing so well.
Point of view of the world.
Yeah.
But with JT,
he can be more of a factor.
He is, and again, I spend way too much worrying about the Ryder Cup, and I wasn't worried about JT for the Ryder Cup, even if you
spend too much time worrying about the Ryder Cup.
You told me
that he can be more competitive
because it's a problem.
And if you're telling me that, I maybe have to reassess some things. Like if Ashton, who's producing today's show, if he told me I was talking too much about the Ryder Cup, I would ignore it because I don't care what Ashton says about golf. If you, my pal, who also cares about the Ryder Cup, is telling me I'm worrying about the Ryder Cup too much, maybe I have to reevaluate.
It's not so much. It's not so much like the conversation of the Ryder Cup.
Every year I have to bring this up. Is there a better back-to-back trophy than a green jacket and a plaid sport coat?
Do you like this? Okay, so do you like this event right after the Masters?
No, I hate the timing of it.
Yeah.
But I love for Scotty Scheffler to roll out there and just win a green jacket and a plaid jacket
back to back. I will give you
I feel like maybe Rory and JT, they'll rock him a little bit better than Scotty. I don't see Scotty ever rocking the plaid jacket, but JT, little Southern boy with SEC roots, I could see him rocking that plaid jacket.
So here, since JT won the PGA Championship back in 2022. T37, T53, cut, T65, cut, T8, cut, T31, and this year at the Masters, T36. It's great that he got the win now.
Yeah.
Now the next step, I think, for him is to continue this confidence that he has playing these events, and hopefully that starts translating to majors.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue the results in the biggest tournaments for JT right now. I will say the thing that's encouraging about his game is it felt like just yesterday this guy was firing 80s in majors.
Yeah.
And
that's where some of those cuts. Yeah.
Missing the FedEx Cup on that chip, being outside the top 70 golfers.
Oh yeah, 2 years ago, trying to make it through the playoff.
And maybe like to bring it full circle to your Ryder Cup conversation, maybe some of his pals who are not having great seasons, guys like Max Homa or even Jordan, who has had a better year than he had last year, but still not where Jordan Spieth should be.
Jordan's solid.
Yeah,
like, we're
talking generational talent.
Oh yeah, I mean right now he's a top 50 golfer in the world, but he's Jordan Spieth. I expect that to be top 20, top 15.
I mean, maybe this inspires some of those guys behind him to realize, like, all right, JT hit the floor at one point, and he built himself back up. And
I think that's a thing potentially for Max.
Yeah.
So, again, I got to imagine it was a tough week for Max because he got to see his buddy, who's his former caddy, win in his second tournament on the bag for Justin Thomas. And we didn't talk about this a lot when it had happened around the Masters, just because, I mean, we're Max Homa fans. I think a lot of people are, but he hasn't been playing good enough golf where we talked about him and his opportunity at Augusta. But he had mentioned that, it wasn't his decision to split from his caddy. His caddy made that decision because he said, hey, we promised each other we were going to be friends no matter what. Like, they've known each other literally forever. And with some of the struggles Max has been going through, caddy decided to leave him. And I don't think this is a permanent change for JT. His actual full-time caddy has had a bad back.
Yeah.
Although
things can change.
Yeah, I was about to say, now you win with your guy on the bag. Like, who knows how quickly that can change for JT. But yeah, that's got to be a tough week for Max. But at the same time, like, I think if Max looks at his buddy JT and goes, all right, I can get there again. Because Max is somebody who's had such a roller coaster career of hitting the bottom, having the driver shanks, getting, I think, 1 or 2 FedEx Cup points the first time he made the PGA Tour, have to re-qualify by going through the Korn Ferry Tour, and then getting back and winning some pretty big-time events, qualifying for the team events, and then be playing the way he is. I think he can look at JT and go, okay, just got to keep grinding. You can get there. You can get back there the way that Justin is.
Yeah, he's definitely top of mind of a guy who has the talent, who can follow this path that JT's been on to bring himself back up. I have a list for you I want to read in regards to JT that I think just puts into perspective. Let's not forget about the career that he's had at this point.
My goodness.
List of golfers with 16 plus wins, including multiple majors before the age of 32. Here are the names on that list.
All right.
Nicklaus.
Pretty good.
Palmer.
Yeah.
Johnny Miller.
Okay.
Tom Watson.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
Rory McIlroy.
Okay.
Justin Thomas.
That's it?
That's it.
It's pretty elite company. That's pretty elite company. Again, to do that before 32. And honestly, what the Rory win at Augusta has done for me as well, it seemed like for a while we were talking about, oh man, you got to be young. You got to be young in this game. You have to be young. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. Now, certainly being young, having the speed, and being able to launch the ball with the driver all over the place is certainly, I mean, obviously it helps with a guy like Ludwig. He's fantastic. But also having the experience to be able to grind through some of this stuff the way that JT has had to, the way that Rory has had to, even Spieth. It makes a lot of people wanted to make the Rory and Phil Mickelson comment of, okay, Phil didn't win his first Masters until he was in his 30s. I think he was 32 when he won his first one, and he rattled off 6 more. So when we were having the conversation that we were last week, when you looked into the camera and said, Rory's winning 3, heck, he might, this year, he might win, 10 total in his career. When you look at it through the prism of Phil Mickelson won 4 after the age of 35, like it makes it realistic that JT can pick off another one. Rory can go on a run. And it makes me not lose hope for my guy, Jordan Spieth.
I was listening to an interview for Padraig Harrington talking about Rory and kind of the state of his game and why Harrington believes that he thinks Rory could not only win 10, he could win 15. And
that's insane.
It is insane, but his comment was that in a game right now that is all about distance and chasing speed, like Rory has that, and his workout habits are as respected and desired by everybody across the professional game right now, that like they don't see Rory losing his numbers off the tee or his speed anytime soon, just because of the emphasis that he's put on taking care of his body and making sure that he's fit enough to perform. And he said the way that he has elevated his game around the greens makes you think this guy has all the pieces right now to rattle off a couple more, and he's just getting going.
But Rory is, I mean, he was one of the biggest stories, and still will be, I think, a huge story in golf. But can he win again at the highest level in major championship? And can he win the career Grand Slam? Can he win at Augusta? It was one of the biggest storylines out there. It's gone.
Yeah.
So what are the biggest storylines remaining right now in professional golf? We'll dive into that coming up next after I tell you about our good friends at Erin Hills. We're getting closer and closer to that 80th playing of the U.S. Women's Open out at Erin Hills. And after that's done, you want to book your tee time. ErinHills.com is how you do it. They have hosted a number of USGA championships, top 10 public golf course in the country. I love it. You know how much Steven loves it. And, maybe book a little stay and play package. That's one of my goals here in the next year or two. I got to get out there. I got to stay at one of the little cabins and cottages they have there on property at Erin Hills, just so I can tell everybody how great it is, because I have no doubt how great it is, because their hospitality at Erin Hills is second to none. Check them out online at ErinHills.com. Now that Rory McIlroy has checked off the Masters, and it was one of the biggest stories literally since he probably choked in 2011 and choked that away, but even bigger since he won a major championship in 2014, and he just needed the Masters to complete the career Grand Slam and enter one of golf's most exclusive clubs. That storyline's gone, Steven. So it has made us wonder, what are the biggest storylines right now in golf? What is the next big storyline that you think we should be talking about?
The next guy chasing the Grand Slam.
Jordan?
It's an easy story. It's another fan favorite who has an opportunity to do it Quail Hollow. Jordan Spieth has never won a PGA championship. He's won a Masters. He's won a U.S. Open. He's won an Open championship. And you know what his last win was, Gabe? 2017. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Feels like a pretty similar story to Mr. McIlroy, doesn't it?
It really does. I guess I don't have the faith in Jordan that I would like to have for him in a PGA championship, because his results haven't been very good. Finished second here back in 2015 when he had probably one of the greatest major runs that we don't talk about enough, when he won
15.
When he won the Masters by $1 billion, and then he goes and wins the U.S. Open. So he wins those two back-to-back to start. Finishes a shot out of the playoff to be T4 at the British Open at St. Andrews, and then finished second here at Whistling Straits in the PGA.
And, second with, I don't know if you have the score off the top of your head, but he was in the minus 20s. He put on a show. It was just Jason Day had an unbelievable Sunday to go and capture that one at Whistling Straits. But that season by Jordan,
oh, he was so good. He only has one other top 10 in PGA history, and that was in 2019. It was kind of an unexpected one when Brooks Koepka won out at.
Why do you think like PGA doesn't fit his game?
Because typically it is
one that allows him to be as wild as any of them, right?
Yeah, but you still need to have a certain amount of length, it seems. When you start looking at the guys who have won PGA championships, and Jordan has added speed, but he's still, I mean, he's not to be confused with any of the longer players on tour, right? And that's why I say unexpected when he finished T3 back in 2019, because that was at Bethpage Black, which, you know, is such an incredibly long golf course. So you take a look at the most recent PGA champions: Xander, Brooks Koepka, Thomas, Phil, Colin Morikawa won in the pandemic one in 2020, but before that, Brooks, JT. I mean, Jimmy Walker, not the longest guy. I have to go all the way back to 2016 before you find somebody who is not necessarily long. It gives you hope, with some of the different places that you play, but also, I guess the difference to me between like him and Rory was still winning.
Yeah.
And he was still, and for a long time, Rory wasn't super competitive, but his name would still appear on the first page of the leaderboard at a lot of these major championships. And then he had the heartbreak that, whether that was at the US Open at LACC, whether it was at the US Open last year at Pinehurst, whether it was, having tied for the lead going into the final day of the 150th Open at St. Andrews. Like, he had these close calls. Jordan's getting better, but he's not having this close calls. Like, it's like he's kind of consistently finishing between 10 and 20 at a lot of these, just regular PGA Tour golf tournaments, which is good. It's better than what he was doing.
Yeah.
But it's not like he has elevated his game to the point where, oh yeah, he's going to pick off another one.
Like, Spieth always takes us on a wild ride, like within 18 holes.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like that roller coaster is costing him a day on maybe Friday or Saturday.
Yeah.
That just puts him out of contention.
Well, and that's the problem, right?
Yeah.
Like, because you can have a day where it doesn't go well. The way that, I would even argue Rory had two of those days at Augusta, the opening day and then on Thursday and then on Friday. But he was able to shoot 66, 66 in the middle, and that was good enough. The story that I'm kind of monitoring, how good is Scotty Scheffler? He's spectacular. He's really good. Don't get me wrong. He's won 2 majors. It's not a very exclusive list that he's on to win 2 majors. He's only won at Augusta. He's got the 2 green jackets. And he isn't playing as well this year, right? Last year was, oh man, this is the best golf we've seen since Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
Tiger was picking off more majors than Scotty. And I want to see him go out and pick off another major that isn't at Augusta National. Like, the big knock on Scotty has been, well, once he sees the golf course and is able to play it, well, guess what happens at the majors, man? Yeah, they rotate around, but I mean, you go a while before you play him again. And who knows what's going to be different. It's not like the PGA Tour or the Masters where you're going back every single year. So that's something I want to see out of Scott. All right, you were crowned. You were given all these accolades last year. Now let's go out and continue to prove.
Yeah, I mean, the Scotty thing is funny because he's played 8 events this year. He's top 25 in all 8 of them.
Yeah.
Like, he's still knocking on the door.
I guess for Scotty, winning on the PGA Tour doesn't do anything for me anymore for him because he's done it so much. He did it, 7 times last year? Like, it doesn't, yes, for building up that career resume, it's always going to look good to have more wins than not. I'm talking about him specifically at major championships.
Yeah, and I think if he goes winless in a major championship season here in 25, I think your argument gets stronger. Right now, I'm not ready to dive into are we worried about Scotty and him being able to win more majors at this point in his career. His game still fits almost every golf course that he steps on the tee and plays.
Yeah, but he just, again, I find it curious that he's only won at the Masters. I feel like that's worth noting, that he hasn't been able to, and again, his Wikipedia page is just filled with yellows, which is our top 10s. Like it going back to 2023, T10, T2, 3, T23. Oh man, really, really struggled with the Open Championship that year. Then he wins last year, T8 at the PGA after getting arrested, T41.
Which truly, I mean, the heater he was on going into the PGA Championship, if he's not in handcuffs, Scotty probably has another one.
No, the arrest had nothing to do with it. He played well after the arrest.
Yeah.
It was not having Ted Scott the next day on the bag, the PGA Tour chaplain on his bag, is the round he shot poorly. Not having his guy Ted Scott, because they have such a great relationship. Ted Scott going to his kid's graduation may have cost him more at the PGA Championship than the arrest.
I mean, I've never been arrested. And if I had, I wouldn't say it publicly on this program. But no, I really have never been arrested. But I have to imagine just the adrenaline rush of that day, getting through it, and then the crash ensuing.
Yeah.
Like, that's like being hungover without drinking.
Sure. But also he was like calm enough while being arrested and sitting in a jail cell and watching himself on television to go, I might be able to make this tee time, and then start doing his stretches in the jail cell.
Yeah.
Which is probably still a story that we don't talk about enough.
For a guy that we have crowned as being the most boring guy in golf, that was pretty epic.
He also, he did, without a doubt. Without a doubt, for being the most boring person in golf, he did the most exciting thing you could potentially do off the course. Like, there hasn't been a bigger off-the-course story in golf that hasn't involved Tiger, and God knows how.
Yeah.
It's Scotty.
Live aside, yeah.
Yeah, well, no, and I judge this based on Jen, Gabe, and Chewy.
Rory getting a divorce for like 10 minutes was kind of
but guess what
magazine-ish.
Guess what we didn't talk about on Jen, Gabe, and Chewy? Rory McIlroy getting a divorce. You know what we talked about all 2 hours when Scotty got arrested?
Captivating.
We talked about Scotty Scheffler getting arrested.
Yeah, because of social media, and I believe it was Jeff Darlington able to capture the conversation with the police officer, and just having that all in front of us in real time, and truly being able to relive it through Netflix in full swing, and what that morning was like for all the professional golfers, and being able to see their reactions. Yeah, that will always. I mean,
it is worth
the fact that we have forever a mugshot of Scotty Scheffler in orange is so good.
One other storyline that I want to throw out there is Jon Rahm done.
Yeah, I like that one. I think his decision broke him. I thought he was playing chess, and turns out he was playing checkers.
Because I think of when Scotty won that first Masters, and he won it in blowout fashion by being able to 4-putt on the last hole. And at that moment when he won, and Jon Rahm also had one major, I mean, those two guys were like, okay, who's the best between these two? Like, these are the two best golfers in the world. We're going to have this rivalry, this huge showdown. And then the next year, Jon Rahm wins the Masters. It's fantastic. Won it, was able to outlast Brooks Koepka in a great Augusta National final day that was more than 18 holes because of the weather that they had that year. And since he went to live, man, again, the last 5 majors to speak for themselves. He has been a non-factor.
Yeah. I mean, we were both very emotional about it when it happened. I have to say, honestly, I don't think about him very often. And I don't think the game misses him as much as it probably should, because he's a dynamic personality and incredibly skilled golfer. But the game's moving forward without a lot of these guys. And as we've witnessed over the last couple of weeks, the game's doing just fine. In fact, it's maybe never been better in the post-Tiger era than what we're experiencing right now.
Because those stars and that cream is rising to the top and getting exciting tournaments.
And one quick thing, one final thing. I know that we had our Gruber Law offices one call, that's all pick each other, but I want to see 3 people win a major before we're done. I want to see Tony Finau win a major. I want to see Tommy Fleetwood win a major.
Okay, that's more realistic.
And you're going to make fun of me for this because I'm stuck in like 2015, but like I want to see Ricky win a major.
Okay. I thought you were going to say Jason Day, but if Ricky were to...
He got the CB.
Well, but I thought, another one.
Oh,
yeah, potentially another one too.
Because the year 2015.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think you are not alone in that. We saw the crowd support for him just a couple of years ago when he was playing so well at LACC at that U.S. Open. And he had that opportunity. There were a lot of people behind him. If Ricky were to suddenly and unexpectedly pick one off, that would be one of the more feel-good stories. Because Ricky is also like the guy that after for a run of, I don't even know how long it was, it seemed like when they were doing the walk with whoever, after they won the major off 18th to go to the scoring area on camera, there was Ricky congratulating the guy. Like, there would be a line of people congratulating Ricky before he got to.
He gets knocked a lot for being a marketer before a golfer, but let me tell you, he changed and transcended the sport just as much as maybe some of the other guys around him continue to do right now.
I think he would be one of the more popular players, not just like fan-wise, but player-wise, if he ever won.
There's still grown men wearing orange on Sundays in support of Ricky Fowler, which is a whole nother conversation. But it just goes
What's wrong with orange?
Bright orange.
What's wrong with
on
orange?
Grown men?
I've got bright orange pants.
I know.
You've played with me when I've worn those bright orange pants.
You wore them at the old course, which was suspect, but
well, those were my Marshman pants. That was the orange and black. Yeah.
Okay.
You had a problem with me? Okay. Well, it's just
Greg. I don't know if we want to dive into this right now.
Wow. Maybe Ashton can get the knife out of my back after the segment is over here. But I do
played great golf though. That's all that matters.
Oh, now he's trying to save it. He did make an eagle that day, but we don't need to talk about that. Who cares? But I do want to tell you again about our friends at the Bog. We'll be talking about more about the Bog coming up in just a little bit, but you can book your tee time out there, golfthebog.com. Beautiful golf course that's very unique because of the land in which it is on. Make sure you take advantage of the great golf they have at golfthebog.com. Stephen, there was so much to get to last week. From the Masters that we were unable to get to.
We needed a two-hour live preview. We needed a 2-hour live post.
We needed a 3-hour. Like, we're being honest. We needed 3 hours to kind of unpack everything. And we'll probably still be unpacking some of those things as the season continues here on the tee. But there was one thing that stood out to me in particular from Rory McIlroy, who was talking about in his post-press conference after he had won his green jacket, about how he was trying to break down the final 9 holes that he played in order to win a green jacket. Now, the plan didn't go to perfection. I'll give him that. But I just found it interesting the way that he kind of broke it down in his mind. Let's go ahead and listen to Rory. I find that interesting because I think that's something that everybody can learn. Not everybody's going to get to play Augusta National or play for the chance to win a Masters, but I think in your own game, that is such a relatable thing to do. Yeah. Just try to break it down, because especially if you're starting to play out of your mind, how many times have you or a buddy you known, like, they get off to a great start and then you just get in your own head, right? Yeah. I think it's just about breaking it down. And okay, if I can do this through these 3 holes, now I can move on to the next 3 holes. And instead of looking at it as this big 18-hole round, just kind of breaking it out. And maybe if you want to do it in 2-hole segments or 3-hole segments, whatever local golf course you play and however it kind of breaks down, I think that's just a really smart way to approach it.
I had never heard about this concept until you put it on my plate when you were caddying for me at Wisconsin Country Club, and we were having a little fun out there. You caddied for me on the front, I caddied for you on the back. We both played terribly that day. So if you want to watch us go hack it up, go check out our YouTube page. But no, it was a really fascinating way to think, because I actually am dealing with this problem right now in how I play the game.
You're playing too well and
no.
Parts.
Well, I know I've been actually starting rounds really well, finishing them really poorly. And I think that I start thinking about the end number way too quickly. And whether that's the 9th hole or the 18th hole, I start thinking about what I'm trending towards, and I get ahead of myself. And I think that's a really easy thing for any of us to do when you're playing well, and probably even easier to do when you're playing poorly. Is thinking about how big of a number you might throw out there and what that might do to your handicap. And so when you said that to me after I struggled through the first 3 holes of playing out there and you were caddying for me and you were doing a great job as a caddy. I went out and I finished the 9 strong because I broke it into 3 holes. And you're like, just finish the final 3 holes at par.
Mm-hmm.
And that was all I was focused on. I didn't care about my score anymore. And all of a sudden, what did I do? I think I finished it at par.
Yeah, you did. You played those last 3 holes in even par. And again, I think that's just, especially for me, that really helps when I'm playing poorly.
Yeah.
Because Rory had the great quote from his caddy, from his, his buddy Harry Diamond, who said, hey, after he missed the putt to win the Masters, going back to 18 to play the playoff, hey, you just signed up for this 10 times out of 10. If I had told you on Monday, we're playing for a green jacket in a playoff, you would take that. So I think for me, it's more important, not even when I'm playing well, and maybe I need to adapt that even when I'm playing well, but when I'm playing poorly, I use it as a reset of, okay, that's done with. All right, these next 2 or 3 holes, however I want to break it down, let's just put some swings together. Let's play these next 3 at even par and see if we can find something that can just get us through the rest of this day where we're going to be able to play some decent golf.
There's a reason that professional athletes use the cookie cutter phrase of one play at a time, one shot at a time. And we roll our eyes in the media like, okay, of course, like you've been coached to say it. But then you start to do it, and you start to play competitive golf, and you're like, oh, kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Well, because it's about staying in the moment. Because when you start worrying about what that number is going to be, right? Whether it's a good number, whether it's a bad number, you start drifting off after you pipe one down hole number 6 after getting off to a fast start in the first 5, and you start wondering about that number. You're not as focused about, okay, now I have to hit a quality shot so I can continue to play well. You start drifting off, and that's where you can get out of your rhythm or get out of the routine that you've established before every shot.
Yeah, and that's definitely one thing that I've been able to pull from some of the guys that I've worked with on the TV side of things with golf is just getting in their mind of how they all go through their process before a shot. They think it's just as important to get out of your mental space and just think about nothing. And that's why caddy conversations are so popular and what you talk about with your caddy between shots, just to allow you to mentally reset, as it is to lock back in, because it's impossible for somebody to lock in for a 5-hour walk and for 18 straight that, you're human. There might be a distraction that you can't prepare for, a fan, a bird, wind, weather, whatever it may be. So I think you'll find a lot of golfers actually are truly only locking in for seconds at a time. And it's about getting into that right mindset in those few seconds that allow you to then reset and not get too emotional either way about where that shot ends up. And it's always fascinating to hear how different players have different processes of how they get themselves locked in to that truly 2-second moment when you hit a golf ball.
And again, I think it's a great mindset to have, because even if you've started playing poorly, okay, I want to play these next 3 now in even par. Sometimes you might go, okay, I got to chase here. I got to aim at this pin, even though I shouldn't, because, well, I made a stupid bogey back there, and now I got to make up for this. I got to stuff this one close. If you just kind of reset and go, hey, all right, next 3 holes, I just have to play even par. You start putting quality swings together. And as I said to start the show, when it comes to Scotty Scheffler, like, good golf is boring golf.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you start aiming to fat parts of greens, making sure you get your 2 putts so you can get through those 3 holes at even par. And I think what you're also going to find if you start doing stuff like this is you're going to start playing better golf.
That's what Jason Day said. He's credited a lot of kind of his resurgence recently over the last 2 years and why his scores have gotten better and he's found himself in contention more. He full-fledged admitted that he doesn't even aim at pins anymore. He picks a spot on the green.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fascinating way to look at this game.
Steven and I have a really cool opportunity. We are doing it once again to help out the MAC Fund. We are participating in the Ringer event. We're going to tell you what we're doing and how you can help us out coming up in just a little bit. But I do want to tell you about our friends at Majestic Oaks, of course. Brand new partner this year here on the tee. Excited for them to be a part of it. And you need to check them out. LakeLoneResort.com is how you can book tee times. They've got great family days, great prices where you can get the cart, the golf, and snacks for you and the family to be able to go out there and play. But it's also a beautiful golf course with over 2 miles of lakefront on the golf course as well. So it's a beautiful property. You're going to have fun. It's a great place to take the kids as well. Book the tee time today. LakeLawnResorts.com. Once again, Steven and I are stepping up this year to help out the MAC Fund, the Ringer event. This is my 7th season participating in the 100-hole event that the MAC Fund does out at the Bog every year. What number year is this for you, Steve?
5.
5th year for you? It is such a fun event for us because not only do we get to play the golf, but we have to do a little bit of fundraising.
Yeah.
So us and Greg Matzik teaming up once again. The 3 of us have a page, and if you want to participate, just text GOLF, GOLF, to 800-990-3776. Every little bit counts, and when it comes to the MAC Fund, all their money that they raise, it goes towards research for pediatric cancers. And that is what they pride themselves on. They have done such a great job with that. And every little bit counts. But we do also have some incentives. So if you want to donate $25 or more, you can enter into a drawing for pizza for a year from our friends at Palermo's Pizza. That also comes with a pizza oven. So we'll draw those people after the golf, because there are some people that want to donate per birdie. So I want to make sure that they get involved. So we'll draw those winners after golf. Still going on this week. If you go out to X Golf in Brookfield, see my guy Mike Meisen, $20 gets you a raffle ticket for a new TaylorMade driver. That's always been a fun one for us. So shout out to my guys out at X Golf who have always helped out, and especially Mike, who basically runs the raffle for us over at X Golf in Brookfield.
New equipment's supposed to be amazing by TaylorMade this year.
I've heard really good things about the irons.
Yeah, I hope so.
But is that? But I mean, again, it's such a great event, and I cannot say enough about what the MAC Fund does. This event, so we have 18 to 20 every year, and a lot of it's the same year to year. We've had a little bit of turnover, but this group that we are a part of, Stephen, in now this 8th year, last year in year 7, we went over the $1 million mark for money raised for the MAC Fund.
Yeah, this one's emotional for me because my wife works in the MAC Fund Center. And so when you can put dollars into something that you know is going to serve people who need it, and you can see the direct beneficiaries of that, not just the kids, the families. Like we always talk about, it's for the kids, but it's for the families as well. This research to help them get through it and them feel better emotionally about the care and research that's going into their kids. It's one of the more impressive organizations I've ever interacted with. And my wife is like one of the most incredible people to dedicate her life and her passion into helping these kids and their families. And what I always say is golf is my passion, and this is an opportunity to make golf a purpose. And that's why I play every year. I know that's why you play every single year, is because we love this game and we love what this game has done for us. But we now have an opportunity to allow this game to help other people. And that's with your help. And so we encourage you to head to our page. There is no donation that is too small. Truly, whatever you're comfortable with, just know that it's making a difference. And what the MAC Fund has been able to do over the last half century is truly incredible, and one of the more impressive organizations here in Wisconsin and really in the country when it comes to pediatric research for cancer and blood disorders. So just think about it, and think about the families and the kids who were dealt a really terrible card, and how a little bit of money can go a long way for them and making sure that they get the care they need.
It is important to me, and it's a goal that I set for us every year, because look, I don't know that many people that have a bunch of money, right? And there have been a lot of people that have participated in this event where they get these big time donations from a lot of different people. My goal is just to kind of show the reach we have here at Good Karma Brands, whether it's with ESPN Milwaukee or over on the WTMJ side with Greg and everything he does with Wisconsin's Midday News. I want to have the most donations. I don't care about the money that's raised. I just want to show how many different people that listen to our shows, participate, are fans of our stations, can help make a difference for the MAC Fund. That's always a goal. And that's why, Stephen, I think that's a great point. If you can get to the $25 and participate, fantastic. But if it's $5, it's $10, it all counts and it all matters, because you never know if that's the last $5 the MAC Fund needed. to get over. Now they've got enough to be able to fund a grant that they want to, give money for and have that research that could be that final stepping stone. So again, if you're interested, text GOLF 800-990-3776, GOLF 800-990-3776.
Yeah. And just know that it's going to the right place. And a lot of people make donations not knowing where that money's headed or how that's going to impact somebody. I can tell you I see it.
Yeah.
And that's a really powerful thing. And I want to shout out Dr. Dave Margolis as well here in our show, because he has always been somebody who has donated to the MAC Fund in addition to dedicating his life to helping these kids in the MAC Fund Center. And he texts me every year when I play in this, and he says, "Where's your link?" And I said, "I'm doing it this year with Gabe, and I'm doing it with Greg, and we're going to try and raise as much money as possible." And he goes, "Perfect. I'll lump it all together and send it to that." And, it's people like that and like Homer, who.
We had an agreement. We weren't supposed to tell people how good Homer is, and he was going to donate. I don't want him to, back
Steve,
off that.
who had a nice donation. And you can truly see the good in people when stuff like this comes about. And just think about the impact that you might be able to have on somebody else's life. And it's a really powerful.
I am still going to be appearing. I don't have the dates yet, but I think it's going to be at some point next week before the actual events. I'll be jumping back on with KBN because they've always been great about doing ridiculous stuff in the afternoons to help raise money for us. So I'll be doing that next week. So keep that in mind as well. Again, just text GOLF, GOLF, 800-990-3776. Thank you to everybody who's participated in the past. Thank you to anyone who wants to donate again this year. We'll be back again next week. There's always going to be something to talk about in the world of golf right here on the team.